somehow worthy of the cruel tales by Villers de la Isle Adam, um, was the practice in the early medieval Japan of sometimes releasing a man from prison um, on the understanding that he'll be transported to um, the other capital. And in medieval Japan, there were two capitals, one military and one where the emperors lived out their Leonid-like existences. Think how small Hirohito was. Um, but in transit, they are um, put to death by um, their hosts who have been instructed to do so. Um, so those are strange emotions. Now, this I want to analogize to um, the Nietzschean theme of the movement from civilization to culture. So remember, there's something called the Kultur, and that's roughly reminds very much of the current situation with um, Western Pope of Rome, but as Mr. Biden sending signals saying everyone in the East who is willing to go along with me, who is willing to receive this signal as from the Pope to the few Catholics that were in the North. So there's, remember, after the Franco-Prussian War, um, the South, Bavaria, and other places where there's a lot of Catholics was added on to the whole of Prussia to form a kind of what Alexander Soros understands that as the moment at the beginning of Germany, of the modern Germany. But something like that with Biden sending signals to anyone in Russia proper, or Ruski Mir in the Russian sphere, Russian world, Rus, who is like Navalny, one of the sort of strange outliers who is willing to hear that signal and then try to activate them, use this power of the, how did they call that, super montane, extra montane, beyond the Alps. This signal is heard. So this kind of Kulturkampf is on one side of this divide, and civilization is on the other. So what I want to say is, so it's as though there's the release from the prison, but then the beautiful city with the Leonid-like emperor that we were going to go to, which was the culmination of civilization. So civilization's building up, industrial revolutions, everything starts to look much nicer, but the people can be, there's a plenty, people are fed, and then, but instead of going to that, there's somehow, the execution block comes in, and its name, according to Nietzsche, it's Napoleon is the first to take up basically this principle in active usage and garner the nation for the sake of the nation, in this sense that Patrick Deneen tells us that about the year, I don't know, maybe 1912 or so, I believe, it was when Woodrow Wilson was the head of Princeton University. He coined a second motto, which was for the good of the nation. The university is for the benefit or the good of the nation. And then, according to Deneen, sometime around in the 90s, 98, I think he says, another Princeton chancellor has modified this to say um, for the nation and for all nations, um, that totally changed the meaning. And then he says, 15 or 17 years later, a subsequent chancellor modified it to say, actually to correspond to the Davos language, for the nation and humanity. So this is also, by the way, the language that Dugin is using in his Fourth Political World Conference, where the slogan was humanity, it's us, not them. So this is the move in its genealogy. So we have civilization, meaning philosophy, meaning Hegel. I suppose Hegel was just appeared at that moment. So that's like so Hegel is actually the first ersatz, the first that doesn't really believe that, and instead just trying to get out of it by claiming, oh, well, we've already reached that we don't have to believe in civilization because we're already there, basically. So Hegel's the first to approve of this new nation, this new model of the nation state as understood as the dissolve of the three estates. The what is the third estate issue. So this is really what the problem is with the nation, is that the concept is exactly this executioner, which executes the civilization project, and it happens in ways that have to be studied directly to show how is it that the nation's channeling the support of people understanding themselves as the citizens of that nation, channeling everything that we'd call civic culture in order to serve not civilization, but rather the narrower goals of a nation. And what does that? So this is this is correspondingly the personality writ large, as it's said somewhat clearly in the Ruth Benedict's version. At least it's a vivid notion to think about, even if it may not be the best way to think about culture. But culture, personality writ large, it's like one person with the dominant and original personality stands in, as Dostoevsky would tell us, that Pushkin has created the Russian types in this sense, and is used in order to actively, in the kind of Rousseauian way, refuse civilization in the name of the Rousseauian total individual. Something which then, I think, then becomes a problem in Schelling's Freedom essay. That's where it kind of, Schelling and Rousseau in that kind of area contact Heidegger, and of course Heidegger has much other genealogy behind it, but that's one point where this issue of have we been transported to the Pure Land or the linnet-like region of Edo, or are we already ordered into some kind of fate like an execution?